What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone.
Ian Garry versus Michael Page. Thomas said, Garry might have rescued his chances with that back take in the third, but this was not in any way a strong showcase. Dylan Dennis said, bro, Ian literally is cheeks. WTF. Dylan Dennis went on to say, oh god, I'll smash Ian easy. He's so bad, I can't believe he thinks he's good. The MMA Guru said, gotta give that to Ian 2-1 based on the first and the third. MVP didn't really land much of anything in the third, and the only way to separate them on the scoring criteria is to value the back take from Garry over the full guard from MVP. Either way, it's stinker of a fight. MMA Guru went on to say, I don't think there's a way for that Ian Garry versus MVP fight to end worse for MMA fans and MMA itself. Just nothingness. MVP loses all aura, and Garry loses a ton of hype after a dead win. Goddamn, it's hard being a UFC fan right now. It rarely entertains us anymore. Blonded MMA said, not gonna lie, this was Ian's worst performance. I can't imagine him beating guys like Leon, Shavkat, Bilal, etc. if he doesn't improve his fight IQ. Sean Sheehan said, MVP is an extremely tricky fighter who doesn't get enough credit for how good he is. It wasn't a spectacular performance, but it was a smart one and a winning one from Ian Garry. MS said, one of those there's room for improvements on both sides types of fights. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson said, Garry did exactly what he needed to win the fight. Not always exciting, but obviously it works. Hats off to Garry for working on his grappling. Congrats. Mayra Silva versus Macy Chiasson. Macy Chiasson defeated Mayra Silva by TKO from a doctor stoppage after Macy hit Mayra with a vicious elbow that opened up her forehead bad enough for the fight to be called off. Here's how the MMA community reacted to the doctor stoppage. Ariel Helwani said, that's the right call. What an elbow from Chiasson. Aaron Bronstetter said, Mayra is tough as nails, but calling that fight is the right call. Luke Thomas said, Rogan said, it's just blood, but I'd counter with the argument that blood is a thing that gives you life. Georgi Kakashvili said, that's hell of a deep cut and needed to be stopped. Shitara is a warrior, by the way. Ben Folk said, gotta be a bad feeling when they're checking a cut on your face and you can hear the crowd go, oh, when a close-up of your face is shown on the big screen. Sean Sheehan said, Ari is like, get the F away from me with that big bloody head. Henry Cejudo said, damn, that's a deep cut. Good job on both fighters though. They put on a show. Absconded Llama said, good stoppage. That ish is nasty. Jared Voirul said, horrible. There's been worse cuts. It's what cut men are for. Didn't even let them get a chance to work on it. Pathetic. The Chowder said, doctors should be the one deciding whether to stop it or not. Passing it to the ref is so dumb. Brad Katona said, beautiful elbow, but may I ask, what was the imminent danger of not letting the fight continue? No vision impairment, just a bad visual in my non-medical opinion. What are your thoughts?
It's unfortunate that things get stopped like that, right? I know people want to see different kind of finishes. It was an awesome elbow in my opinion, but you know, it would have been awesome to continue the fight, but I feel like the stoppage was, you know, as needed. You know, I think they did a good job with the stoppage.
So it's safe to say that at bantamweight, this is the best you've ever felt?
100%. This is the best I've ever felt. My coach is going to laugh at this, but I love fighting at 35 more than 45.
Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. Roman Dolidze defeated Anthony Smith by unanimous decision after 3 rounds. Here's what the MMA community had to say. Steffi Haynes said, is Dolidze considering a permanent move to 205, or was this just a nothing burger? Luke Thomas said, not a good fight between Smith and Dolidze. Understood that this was short notice, so we have to have managed expectations, but it just wasn't fun. Dylan Dennis said, spent $100 on this BS? What the F? Sean Sheehan said, I get a great giggle every time I think of Anthony Smith nicknaming himself Lionheart. The MMA Guru said, guys, this is reality. Roman effing Dolidze just outclassed Anthony Smith for 3 rounds, with Smith having 0 success. Yes, Dolidze legit looked good on the feet in comparison to Smith. Roman Dolidze. Aaron Bronstetter said, a fight between former training partners that was made 8 days ago, with one guy fighting up a weight class, played out about how one would expect. Aaron Bronstetter went on to say, Anthony Smith was about 1 month removed from being a top 10 light heavyweight for 6 years. A strong run for him after moving to the light heavyweight division in June of 2018. Georgi Kokashvili said, Roman Dolidze is officially back, baby. The first ever Georgian to be ranked in 2 divisions at the same time. Nolan King said, Roman Dolidze mentions a fight versus Khamzat Chimaev at middleweight in his post-fight interview. Dan Ige versus Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes defeated Dan Ige by unanimous decision after 3 rounds. Here's how the MMA community reacted to this fight. Sean Sheehan said, Dan Ige should get a 100k bonus. Bilal Muhammad said, respect to both those beasts. Great co-main. Nolan King said, 29-28 Lopes, but there are no losers in that one. Too bad. Nothing but respect. Billy Quarantillo said, good scrap. Aljamain Sterling said, hell of a scrap, men. Movsar Evloev said, your biggest win in UFC is losing to me. The MMA Guru said, Good job, Ige. Gave a good showing for himself on short notice, even though he was already in camp for another opponent. Lopes clear win and showed talent, but Ige is just an unfinishable little nugget of mid. If Emmett can't put you out with flush hooks early on, then no one can. Henry Cejudo said, great effort from Ige and Lopes. Ige definitely showed he's always ready, and Lopes can handle whatever curveball is thrown at him. Nolan King said, Diego Lopes calls for Brian Ortega or Alexander Volkanovski at Sphere in September. Brendan Schaub said, this card was cursed for a while now, but I feel like Brian Callen being there in person put the cherry on top. Man, it's been a rough. Alex Pereira versus Jiri Prochazka. Alex Pereira defeats Jiri Prochazka by knockout in the second round. Here's what the MMA community had to say. Steven Wonderboy Thompson said, oh my goodness, Pereira is superhuman. It's over. John Morgan said, brutal finish. Don't think Prochazka was ever quite clear after the first, but it might not have mattered with that shot. Pereira is just incredible. Ben Folk said, bro, Pereira just put a stamp on this one. Steffi Haynes said, Jiri fights like an idiot, chin up, hands down, all puffed out like a rooster. This was inevitable. Alan Juban said, oh my goodness, I just woke up the neighbors. Charles Oliveira said, mano, poetan e monstro. Mark Raimondi said, Alex Pereira's career trajectory is completely unprecedented. There's never been anyone like him. All he does is headline the biggest events and finish his opponents in them. Megan Anderson said, holy ish, Alex Pereira is a bona fide superstar. Chapmakar Sandhu said, Alex Pereira is just a bona fide knockout artist. Wow. Ariel Halwani said, and then seconds into the second round, Alex Pereira KOs him. Unbelievable, man, truly. Aaron Bronstetter said, Alex Pereira becomes the first light heavyweight champion with multiple title defenses since John Jones relinquished the title in 2020. Billy Quarantillo said, makes you wonder how good Izzy is. Conor McGregor said, left high kick. Jamal Hill said, I'll sleep the next guy, and then we go again. Great win, but we are not done. Top comments. Alex lives rent-free in Jamal's head since 300. Duplessis is freaking delirious. He hasn't even defended the belt yet. How does he figure he's the GOAT? Drakus, my man, greatest to ever do what? You just got your belt yesterday. Relax. A real GOAT never calls himself the GOAT. He's deemed the GOAT by his everyone else. Drakus is delusional as hell. I still think he lost to Strickland. He needs to run that ish back before he runs his mouth anymore. How does anyone find Leon more tolerable than Bilal? Jesus, both these guys need to double KO each other. Strickland and DDP was a razor close fight that apparently didn't warrant a rematch. In what world would Hill get a rematch after a first round knockout?